Hey there, everyone. How are you doing tonight or this morning or whenever it is that you're listening to this? Um, Thank you for subscribing if you recently have, and if you had in the past or whatever, just thanks. Thanks for liking, thanks for sharing. If you do share, I know I find it kind of hilarious the idea that I'm asking what is possibly a significant amount of schizoids to go share. But honestly, if you don't, even if you have any groups or too many friends to speak of to share it to, just go ahead and throw it anywhere. Why not? Um, Especially anywhere where, introverts might creep. That'd probably be the best spots. But I guess here is your Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah and the such. um, well, it turns out that yes, I do have COVID 19. So I am enduring the COVID. It seems to be the case. So in the last recording, I had stated that I was sick, got tested. It's confirmed. So it, I think the worst of it is over. Honestly, I just feel really lethargic, very low energy, very fatigued, um, sleepy, just not the best. Exactly. But um, other than that, I mean, it feels kind of like a flu, just a bit worse in the fatigue department. Because the shivers and the fever and the muscle aches seems to have kind of gone the wayside, but a few other things have stuck around. It's more this lethargy. I mean, right? It's not like schizoids are all that energetic to begin with, but in this case, I am less so than ever. But I decided I want to record regardless. It is Christmas Eve after all. This night is important to some people, probably not to most schizoids, but to some, this is an important night. For me, I would consider it an important night if it weren't for the fact that I cannot be with my children or my wife right now. I have to be isolated from them. I'm at a friend's home, and they have COVID as well. So it's rather dreary not to be able to spend an event that is important to my children with them. They've gotten tested themselves, so obviously I don't want them to have it, but if they do as well, then I will go back home. But as of right now, results are unverified, and thus I must spend it away from them. Ironic, yes? A schizoid, normally getting what he wants, which is general isolation, doesn't want isolation right now. He wants to be with his family, his children, his wife. It's an unfortunate situation. But I'm sure there are others in similar unfortunate situations, so there's no point in throwing that pity party. I'm sure some of you are having a rather lonely Christmas Eve, if you care about Christmas Eve at all, or it's just maybe another lonely evening, like every other one. But I do want to talk a little bit, while I have some energy for the moment, about Christmas and my history with it. So, obviously, younger, child, presents were nice. Santa Claus never cared. Presents were nice. And having good food was nice too. As I got older, I was one of those kids that knew Santa wasn't real, but still pretended that he was because everyone else seemed to as well. So, though I had already caught on quite quickly, as my parents weren't exactly the best at hiding it, I just went along. My sister believed for a long time. I went along with them mostly because I just didn't want to cause any waves, because I didn't know what the results would have been if I would have said something. when I was a kid, so I kind of just went with it. Once they gave me the talk about Santa not being real, I feigned surprise, I'm sure. And, things went on from there. Unfortunately, once you're told Santa isn't real, there tends to be a decrease in the gift giving department. I don't know if that was their intention or what, but that's what tends to happen. I just remember having to go to different families' homes, similar to Thanksgiving, if you listen to that recording. Gathering of people, eating food, Christmas Eve. I look forward to the next day when I can get stuff. But I do remember being unable to sleep because I was excited to get things. Because I had assumed I was going to get something generally in the list of stuff that I was interested in getting. Unfortunately for me, we weren't middle class. We weren't living in total poverty. We were somewhere in the middle. And of that, yes, just paycheck by paycheck. Oh, by the way, if my cognitive functions are a little stunted, it's probably the COVID. But I remember that my father was terrible with money, awful with money. So Christmas gifts usually came random, usually not the stuff you really asked for, just the stuff he managed to maybe scrape together. And not because he couldn't have saved money or he couldn't have figured out how to get it. He just didn't make the effort. Usually whatever it is that I wanted for Christmas as a child probably was sold out by the time he attempted to retrieve it, or he frivolously spent the money and didn't have the appropriate funds for whatever it was. So I remember getting a lot of things that I didn't want or care for, and they would just kind of sit there in their packaging half the time. And I look back on it now and I go, oh, well, maybe I'm just being a brat, maybe I'm just being an ungrateful kid. No. Now that I'm a parent and, I'm not exactly rich, I'm not anywhere near that, struggling pretty much just like everybody else, I still can manage to get that 2 or 3 things my kid wants for Christmas. I make it happen. And I wasn't asking for the most expensive thing in the world at the time. It'd probably be like this one video game I wanted. And yeah, they were costly, but as long as I got that thing, I was generally pretty happy. But I would usually get some other game that wasn't the one I asked for, or my father had forgotten what it was called, or he didn't pay attention, or, just didn't care enough to actually get the information down properly, or didn't take the time to actually purchase it, when it came out, and I would drop hints at when it was coming out and such. And it's just it's an ongoing theme with the family sometimes. In any case, a lot of disappointing Christmases usually, as far as the material stuff went, because I wasn't really interested in the familial or social aspects of Christmas. Didn't connect with it. Didn't make sense to me. The food was nice, though. I know I have a few memories of Christmases or New Year's. I'm not sure if it was New Year's or Christmas. I'm pretty sure it was Christmases, in which my parents would get drunk and angry at each other and start yelling and, just get overall just domestically loud and angry with one another. They tended to have more problems when I was a young child, and I don't think my sister... I don't know how much of that stuff my sister experienced as a kid, because it kind of mellowed out over the years after that. They still argued, but not to, I think, the extent that I remember when I was very small. Some of the wine-fueled shouting matches that were occurring. But I know 1 or 2 of them had occurred during Christmas Eves. For a variety of reasons, I'm sure. Sorry, I'm just sitting here on the screen just because I figured looking at some Christmas family imagery would maybe release some ancient memories. Never had a dog. Well, actually, much later, I had a dog. I don't remember any situation like this, that's for sure. I don't think most of us do. I doubt if you have a PD, you probably had the best upbringing or Christmas time situations. That's the thing that's really, really funny about Christmas, too, is that, people with healthy childhoods, they see images like this and things like this, and they might reminisce. But it's really funny because if you had a dysfunctional family or a family that had, whatever problems existed in that family, Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, days that are supposed to be like unifying, were the worst possible days of the year for your family. What the hell, they all have the bare bottoms. But yeah, it was the worst shit. It generally was the worst shit. Usually associated with arguments, disappointment, all kinds of not great stuff was generally happening during Christmas. Yeah, this is a little more like it. So yeah, I can't give you like a happy, fun Christmas story. I'm trying to think of something, but I doubt there's anything there. I was hoping, because this is usually how my memories will trigger. I have to kind of look at images and things and kind of reminisce and so on, but nothing's coming to me as far as happy moments during those times of year. Luckily, currently, that's all changed, except for this year, apparently. I've been enjoying my Christmases the last decade or so, because, when you have kids, and I understand that whole concept now of, this holiday isn't for you, it's for the children. Yeah, it's definitely true, and I enjoy the way my daughter's face lights up when I, give her a gift she wanted, that she asked for. She's reached that age where we explain to her, about Santa not being a real thing, but a symbol. And I explained it to her. She took it a little hard the first time, but then she realized it, and then she kind of appreciates it even more now, I've noticed. And I told her it's about family. It's about being with the people you love. It's a representative. It's a symbol of family unification. Even though it's been corporatized and turned into just big product now. I know, I get it. It's all bullshit. But the moments that your children feel when they get that present, or they get that hug, they get that meal, they see the tree, they help you hang the ornaments, all the symbols of unification, of family togetherness that they seem to appreciate, they seem to feel. I don't need those things in order to feel my family, but I appreciate what they are and what they mean to the people I love, what it means to the people I love. And within that context, I then can love aspects of it as well. It's all by proxy, Growing up, I remember some of my actual favorite Christmas-related things were the movies. The movies I liked because I liked films, I liked stories, I liked narratives, I liked characters. So when I was a kid, of course, I enjoyed my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, and my personal favorite was The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, because, the Grinch just seemed like the good guy half the time. But some of those ethical lessons being taught in some of those stories they were nice. They were good little lessons. A Christmas Story, definitely a favorite of mine. Just the problems that come with being a little boy that wants things that you're not supposed to have yet. at your age, such as a BB gun or something. So that was relatable when you were a kid. Get the idea of you can't do this because you'll poke your eye out or whatever. Every child, schizoid or not, we all heard it when we were trying to do things we weren't supposed to be doing. But I think the favorites as I got older were the horror, because as explained in a previous thing, I love myself some Christmas horror films. Why not? Let's look. So, Christmas horror films. Okay, so let's find some of the. Oh, here we go. Easy. Black Christmas. Incredibly feel good film. Very nice movie. College girls. Psycho killer. Weird story. Mystery. Whodunit kind of situation. Had some pretty over the top. It was kind of like a really early slasher. 1970s slasher film. It was Christmas. I would say it's one of the earliest Christmas-based type slasher films. There's quite a few after that. Of course, everyone, if you haven't heard of this movie, please watch it. It's ridiculous. Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's one of the most ridiculous movies about trauma that I've ever seen. Because it's essentially, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's essentially about a kid who sees their parents get killed by a mall Santa, to rob them or whatever, and then he ends up, I think, raping and killing the mother. And so then he becomes all traumatized and quiet and introverted as he got older. And then something in his PTSD kicks in, and he becomes like this psycho killer Santa that goes around going punish and like just chopping people up with an axe. Some of the worst acting I've ever seen. Some of the most awkward shit ever. Very, very funny movie. The sequel, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, is just it's just a re-edit of like a abridged version of the first one, and then they added like an extra hour or so of new footage about another guy shooting people on Christmas. I don't know. It was pretty shit. I remember that much. And as far as more modern films, this one sucked. That's Santa vs. Krampus. That one was terrible. But Krampus itself was a great movie. If you haven't seen Krampus, that is probably one of the best, like, post 2010, honestly, Christmas horror, Christmas movies in general. This is an image from it. It's a fun movie. It's PG-13, so it's not a gore fest or anything. Yeah, this is it. But man, it's just a fun movie. Great movie, great music, very enjoyable. I would highly recommend it. Gremlins, as a kid, was one of my favorite Christmas movies. Gremlins, for sure. Not horror, of course, was Home Alone. Home Alone 2. Amazing Christmas films. So, what's funny is that I unfortunately have seen Ginger Dead Man. God, that movie is fucking terrible. Gary Busey, of all fucking people. If you want to talk about fucking PDs, right? But, I had a stronger relationship with these films. These kind of horror Christmas films, especially something like Gremlins, far more than I would say for the social aspects of Christmas. I looked forward to the movies that would play on television and otherwise, or you get to go to the local Blockbuster and get yourself a VHS when you were a kid. At least in my case, I'm an old dude, and you'd watch some scary Christmas movies or some of the old school traditional ones that you liked, and that was awesome. I looked forward to that aspect of it every year. Not the meal, not the togetherness or the being with my family, because that usually turned into some shit show anyway. Oh, the worst thing. See, told you, things start coming back. Things just like to come back. This is where I spent many of my Christmases and New Year's. Las Vegas. Can you believe that bullshit? Now, this is what I got to see. I fucking hated it. I fucking hated it. I had family, my father's side. He was adopted. He had family. They all lived in Vegas. So most years we'd spend a lot of Christmases in Vegas. My parents would go out and drink and gamble probably or do whatever it is they wanted to do. We'd stay home or with my aunt and, have some meal or something. I don't remember much about what happened. I didn't care. I hated it. About the only thing that was cool about Christmas in Vegas is that if, you stayed at a certain uncle or aunt's house, sometimes they have the porn channels. So that was nice. Got a little bit of extra sex ed in that sense. But outside of that, yeah, Christmas in fucking Vegas was terrible. The countdowns, everything else, all the lights, all the noise. My God, it's that place is a schizoid nightmare, honestly. Was not a fan of that particular situation. But that's all I have personally as far as Christmas-related memories and thoughts. Sorry I'm not at my best. Like I said, COVID. I guess I'll just use that as an excuse for right now. For the lack of energy or thinking. And like I said, my cognitive functions are kind of damaged, it feels like. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just exhausted. But I wanted to record this. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I'm hoping that some of you that are, feel especially lonely, I guess, on an evening like this, know that I am also lonely because I can't be with my family right now. The one set of people that I would actually want to be with the most. So you're not alone in your loneliness. I wish you luck in your solitude. If you're seeking it as of tonight, then good for you. Enjoy it. Partake in it. Stay away from the crowds. Stay away from the nonsense. Stay away from the lights. They're much, much too bright, honestly. These blinding fucking lights. Especially in Vegas. You don't want any of that. You really don't.